Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Shannon. I am 29 years old and I just had my first child, a boy, 5 weeks ago. A lot of the videos that you've been seeing were pre-filmed or filmed just after the fact of me having a baby while my mom was here. So this is my first video technically filming while being on my own. Essentially, I had my child, my husband had 1 week of paternity leave, which he took, and then the week after that, my mom stayed with me to help out with the baby. The week after that, my mother-in-law came in to help with the baby, and then the week after that, the rest of my husband's family came in to help out with the baby, and my husband stayed home during that time. So this is week 1 of me just having the baby all to myself. He is currently napping in the other room. That's him right there. And in today's video, I just want to do a quick birth story. I don't know how long this video will be because I don't know how long he'll be napping for, but yeah, let's get into it. I don't have a script for this video or anything, so I'm gonna try my best to make this as cohesive as possible on the limited amount of sleep that I've had. So I'm so sorry. I hope this I hope this all makes sense. As you may know if you follow me on TikTok, or you may not know if you don't, I had a scheduled C-section because Leo was sitting Frank Breech. I don't know if I've said his name. My son's name is Leo. He was sitting Frank Breech. And when you're sitting Frank Breech, or when your baby is sitting Frank Breech, basically their head is up by your lungs and then their butt is where they would exit, where the head should be when you give birth. Also, when you're Frank Breech, your feet and your hands are up by your face. So the baby is kind of sitting in this like V type posture. I'll include a picture here just kind of so you know what I'm talking about. So first of all, that's a very dangerous position to do a vaginal delivery with. I was offered ECV, which is basically like a procedure that you go in and they attempt to manually flip the baby. I heard that was pretty painful, and due to COVID, they don't offer that now until the 38th week. And by that time, the baby is just too big to even flip anymore. And I also had an average amount of amniotic fluid, but my doctor told me that it was on the low end of average. So it was likely not going to work for me just because there was not enough wiggle room, you know? So I elected not to do the ECV, and I just went ahead and got scheduled a C-section. I really didn't want a C-section at all. I wasn't a fan of the scar. I mean, I know that sounds facetious, but I didn't want the scar, and I just thought a vaginal delivery would be easier to heal from, and I've heard that it's an easier delivery to heal from. So I was really, really hoping that he would flip on his own and I would just do a natural birth. All I wanted was laughing gas, and then I wanted to have an epidural on standby. Leo had other plans though. So before the C-section, they will call you, tell you that you can't eat or drink anything, including water, after midnight the day of the surgery. So my surgery was scheduled at 10 a.m. and I was not supposed to eat or drink anything from midnight to the surgery. They did tell me that before 6 and after 12, I should drink Powerade because of electrolytes or something to keep something in your stomach. So, I mean, that's just what my hospital said to do. I think other doctors, hospitals might do it differently. The day of the surgery, my husband and I went in together. Thankfully, he was there for me. And in the morning, honestly, it's a lot of sitting and prepping. What I remember is going in and immediately being told to change my clothes into the hospital gown. And then they put an IV in my arm, and the nurse there kind of went over everything that would be happening with me. I would go to the OR, they would give me a spinal tap, etc. These are all things that I did not want to know. I did not want to know the step-by-step procedures. I would rather not know what they were doing because then I don't have to think about it. I don't know, that just sounds better to me, and it usually works better for me. As she was telling me this, and she's giving me medicine and having me sign all of these forms, I started to freak out because we were in a general room where I don't know what it's called, but you come back there after you go to the OR for your surgery too. I think it's called the recovery room or something, prep recovery room. So as she's going over what's going on, like what's gonna happen to me, and I'm signing documents and she's starting to dose me up with medicine, like in preparation for the surgery, I'm hearing other C-section moms come back to the room and like start their recovery basically. And as she's talking, I hear this one mom come back to the room. She's unresponsive apparently. She almost died on the table, and so did the baby. And I'm like freaking out. And I'll never forget that because the baby's name was Alistair, which reminds me of Crazy Rich Asians. I've never heard that outside of that book. But yeah, apparently that was an emergency C-section. I didn't know that until after the fact. So I was just freaking out. So I was nervous the entire time. I did not want to get a C-section, but I knew that there was no other way. So as I start feeling the medicine start to settle in, like you can feel a little wobbly, I have a meltdown. Like I just start crying, I panic. And the nurse is trying to calm me down and my husband's trying to calm me down. And like, just thinking about it now, I could cry again because I just honestly did not want to do it. It's just fresh. It's time for me to go back to the OR where they perform the surgery. My husband is not allowed back there while they're doing the spinal. The nurses and everybody in the room was so kind, like so calming. First thing they did was the spinal tap, which they had me sitting on the edge of, okay, so this is the bench that I'm lying on essentially. They have me sit on the edge of the bench. One nurse is literally like holding my head, like having me relax, like completely relax, just like breathing in and out. And the other nurse is digging in my back with this needle. And what that feels like is a huge bug crawling around in your back until finally it bites you. And then you don't feel anything from the waist down. I should clarify that you can tell like when people are moving you or touching you, but you don't feel any pain. So I could tell that they were like moving me around, but I couldn't feel any pain. They let my husband in the room after the spinal sets in, and then immediately, like as soon as his foot enters the door, they start cutting me open. So I had the drape where you couldn't see through because I didn't want to see that, and my husband is very squeamish. He didn't want to see that either, which I totally understand. So he's just in my face here, and I feel tugging going on down there, and I'm like, I'm literally like tremoring, shaking so hard, and my husband is trying to calm me down. I think the anesthesiologist injected me with something to help the tremors because at some point like I calmed down, and she had said that she was giving me medicine to help with the tremors. So I was aware that she was giving me medicine. And then I remember the doctor who performed the surgery pulling him out and saying, "Oh, I think we have a redhead here." And I kind of panicked. I looked at my husband and I was like, "Do you have red in your family?" Because I have red in my family. He's like, "No, I don't think so." So I'm just like so confused because I was expecting either a dark-haired or a blonde-haired baby. And the doctor and the nurses were just kind of like bantering back and forth. Apparently they were like gossiping or like sharing stories, my husband said, but I was not paying attention to what they were doing at all. All I knew is them talking to each other is better than them being focused solely on me. So I know everything's going all right. She pulls him out of my body and basically just flashes him for half a second above the drapes, and I can see him and he's covered in blood. I don't really get a good look at him. And then I think they clean him off and bring him over to like a bassinet, like off to my left side. And my husband, keep in mind, is on my left side. And my husband is turned around looking at him like, "Look at him, Shannon, isn't he so cute?" And I'm like, I can't see behind you. Can you please move? Like I literally could not see behind him. He was completely blocking me. So my husband moves and I get a good look at him. And my first thought is, oh my God, he looks like my dad. I was not expecting him to look like me at all. If you want to see what he looks like, go ahead to my TikTok or my Facebook. I post videos about him and I and our family there. He is my twin. I was expecting him to look exactly like my husband because my husband has very strong, what I thought were dominant genes. They clearly are not dominant if I'm taking over, or maybe it's a fluke, who knows. They set him on my chest and I think he was there for like a minute, and all of a sudden I feel like this warm liquid running down my shoulder here, and he peed on my chest. Just met the guy and he peed on me. So all of that literally took place in like 5 minutes. He was out within like, they opened me, he was out, and then it took them longer to stitch me back up than it did for them to take me out. So I think I was in there for maybe like, sorry, he was moving. So I think I was in there for like 15 more minutes while they stitched me up, and then I think they did like some of those like first tests that you have to do on a baby while he was in there, and he passed all of those. The doctor did tell me that I was a book example of a C-section. The only issue that they had is that his elbow or his shoulder, one of the two, caught me on the way out. So my C-section scar is a little bit longer than a typical one, unfortunately, but that's all right, we'll survive. I'll rock it. Much to my dismay, I will rock it. But yeah, so it was a really easy C-section, easy surgery. The doctor talked to me for a little bit. She was really great, like really liked that doctor. She was one of, I think like 5 or 6 in the practice, and I had seen her maybe like 2 times before that, but I really liked her and I'll be going back to her. After she talked to me for a bit and like went over some options about like physical therapy and whatnot, I went back to the recovery room and did some skin to skin time with him and kind of got to know him a little bit. And then my husband got skin to skin, and that time is a little hazy for me because I was so dosed up on medicine. I don't really know what was going on. And then eventually they took me back to like a normal hospital room where I had my own shower and my own bathroom and everything like that. I think they only do like singular rooms now. I don't think they do shared rooms anymore. And then the recovery process started, and yeah, that was something. I did say in a few videos back that I had picked out his name. I think I said it in 2 videos actually, and in both of those videos the name had been different. So it was not the same it was not the same name from video to video. And then the name now is not the same name as it was. So I'll let you guys know the names that we had decided and then changed. The first name was going to be Jameson with either the middle name West or Worth, and he would go by JW. And we chose Jameson because that is my maiden name, and I ended up changing my mind on that because I just felt like that would be a little confusing to the rest of my family, and then I couldn't find a good nickname for that. Like my husband wanted to call him JW, and that's too long for a nickname. I didn't like James, which would eventually probably turn to Jim or Jimmy or something like that. Didn't like that. I didn't like JMO. I don't know, there weren't any good nicknames for that. And I really wanted a nickname. The second one was Beaumont Michael. I really liked the name Beau, like throughout my whole entire pregnancy. I still like the name Beau, but my husband felt like that was kind of like an incomplete name. And we had actually settled on Bowie Knox like way early in my pregnancy, and that fell through. But yeah, so we were gonna go with Beaumont, and then Michael is a family name. So we were gonna do Beaumont Michael, and then once we saw him, we knew that wasn't the name. And actually, funny story, the day before my C-section, my husband and I were out to dinner and we're like, well, we need a backup name just in case he doesn't look like a Beaumont. So we settled on Leo James. And as soon as we saw him after he was delivered, we knew he didn't look like a Beaumont. Like I could kind of see it, but not really. And he just looked more like a Leo to both my husband and I. And actually my husband suggested the name Finn and said he looked like a Finn, which I could see, but that just didn't feel right to me. So we have Leo. And if you're wondering what a nickname for Leo would be, it would be LJ. We spent 3 days in the hospital, and by day 2, I think we were ready to go. I was a little nervous to go because we had so much help in the hospital, but nurses were coming in literally every hour and waking all of us up. So I was ready to go home and leave that room because I did not leave that room one time during our whole stay. And yeah, that is my birth story. I hope this is interesting to you. If you have any questions or if you think I left anything out, please leave a comment below and I'll try to answer that either in a comment or another video. Again, you can find me over on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I share a little bit more about my life in more condensed forms, so you'll probably find out more information faster than you will here, but of course I love to have you here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video.